Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode of the Fresh Face Film Bro. It is a quiet, cold, dark evening in January, and we are here to discuss two of the biggest movies of the year of 2024. We are going to be starting off with Nickel Boys, the directorial debut of American photographer RaMell Ross.
And we'd be remiss if we didn't mention a birthday on the podcast.
And it is Big M Mason's birthday.
Number 23.
The big 2-3. So we recorded an episode on Ethan's birthday also, but that was the one that got lost. So rest
Eaten
in
by
peace.
the cloud.
Yeah. Rip that episode, bro.
Yeah.
That was a great
Yeah.
one. I
Yeah.
apologize.
No. That's on Tim Cook.
Yeah. So, but you know,
I appreciate the love, boys.
Yeah.
we got two birthday episodes, and the last birthday episode was great. So this one is also going to be really good. I got a good feeling.
Yeah. So let's send good
We're
vibes
ready.
Mason's way.
Put him a happy birthday in the comments section of Spotify.
In the Spotify comments.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone uses that.
Make it be your first time.
Yeah. Okay. And we're doing two separate ones, right?
Yeah.
Nickel Boys. Okay. So
Yeah.
this is the Nickel Boys
Yes.
episode, folks.
Yeah. I just got distracted by the balloons. We're on FaceTime. Balloons went flying. But yeah, we are talking about them tonight. But this episode you're listening to right now is Nickel Boys, and where to begin with Nickel Boys? That's a good question.
Why don't we start with RaMell Ross and his work as a film photographer?
yeah. You speak on that, Jacob, because
Yeah.
you've seen Hale County, right?
Yeah. I've seen. I was familiar with RaMell Ross before I even knew that this movie was coming out. I'd taken some photography courses at school, and his name has been floating around a lot. He's a very influential and important American photographer of the 21st century, and he works primarily in the American South. He's originally from Maryland, but he has a very interesting style of photography. And you see that in his documentary, Hale County This Evening, where for one of his photo books, he went and stayed with a group of strangers. And the documentary documents their life. And he's more so a fly on the wall. He's saying some things about poverty and poor health care and the education system down there. But the good heart and good people of those areas, and it's got some pretty experimental music cues and off-kilter editing choices and some really artistic swings, and that definitely, well, funnily enough, even though they're pretty different, it transferred over to Nickel Boys, even the first person's perspective, because the documentary is literally just RaMell Ross hitting record and showing you these people's life, and Nickel Boys is a first-person perspective movie that flips back and forth between our two protagonists. But that's sort of the background on him. You should look up his photography. I'd say it's a lot of American photographers of the modern day. They make really constructed, really thought-out photographs. Not to say that his aren't, but they definitely feel a bit more lived in and really, really raw and just a little bit experimental, and he's one of the best and probably my personal favorite photographer. His stuff's really great. You should go buy one of his books or look his stuff up. It's really, really unique. He's got a fantastic eye for the camera. So
Now that I've seen the film, I was looking online to see how much like the photography books were going for, and there's one that's like $70, and I was like, ooh, that's a little bit pricey, but I was like, oh, it looks great, but I don't know. I don't know if I could justify that just yet. But if there's ever like a flash sale for it, I'm totally getting it because I'm a fan.
I did get the lucky chance to flip through one of his photography books. One of my professors owns a personal copy, and he also had a personal copy of Wim Wenders' photo book from when he was doing scouting for Paris, Texas, and that one was also a fun treat. But those photo books do go for a lot, so your best bet is just to look up some stuff online. But
Yeah.
great work.
I'll also check the library too, see if they've got anything.
Yeah.
Let's toss it to Mason since you saw this first. First of all, I guess, how long has it been since you've seen it, and what's been your experience, both, I guess, while watching the film and then after sitting with it for a little bit?
Yeah, so I watched this over a month ago now. I think it was about December 18th or like 19th, something like that. I didn't really know anything about Ross going into this. I knew that it was like pretty critically acclaimed, but some people felt it was very cold. So I didn't really know what to expect. I was just kind of like blown away. I think that it's like, I don't know, it feels like I love all the formalist choices. I love the archival footage.
So good.
I love the sound design. I love the score choices. And I can get people saying that it's like, it feels very one note or tacky or very like emotionally like empty or hollow, like the film as a whole.
Really?
Just because like, and like a lot of people have said, hey, like the POV shot, it's a gimmick. It's just flashy for no reason. I just didn't feel that way at all. I thought it felt very breathed in, like some of the great Malick movies. And yeah, I mean, I've kind of been itching to watch it ever since. Like I've been thinking about it a lot. I just kind of like want to go back into that world.
It's funny that people mention that they don't feel any emotion from the first person perspective, because I think that's what made the movie like more powerful. I felt incredibly moved by the movie, and
Exactly.
I feel like when you're in the first person perspective, you almost feel like more sympathetic. Like I think it's a device that is used more effectively in third person. I think the movie would still be great if it was shot more conventionally, but I think no one would. I think maybe people wouldn't be talking about it quite as much if it was third person. I think the first person perspective is like crucial to the aspect of this movie, and if anything, especially for the ending and sort of the foreshadowing it plays with that,
Yeah.
where it's like.
I love when the like present day shots are like not POV and you're like, whose perspective are we looking at? And he's kind of playing with like that kind of back and forth.
Yeah.
When you're like on his back in the present day.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I just think that like
Yeah.
it's a movie that you could have done the kind of black and white thing with and like just cut and dry. Like, here's what we're gonna do. But I think that it's so memorable because he didn't do that, and he's kind of playing with the form and stuff.
Yeah.
I also think like the decision to depict the film predominantly from a first person perspective is so key in like both heightening the subtext and highlighting the experience, like the black experience in the Jim Crow South. Like I think that gives viewers a more intimate window into the
into
experience.
what that life was like.
Yes,
and
exactly.
we have a plethora of movies that do that same subject third person, and unfortunately we feel almost like numb or desensitized or maybe like bored by that showing. But this is like it almost like has to be first person, I would argue, for it to work as effectively.
And I think
For sure.
sort of continuing on the idea of intimacy, the opening sequence when we're first looking at like the orange trees, and then we're inside and it's the family dinner, and you're seeing shots under the table, and it's just you were transported into this lived experience, and there's so many like visually striking shots that capture life in a way that I don't think many films have in I guess in how it sort of transforms reality compared to what I'm familiar with in a film. There's immersion that I'm used to with the cinematic experience, and this was heightened, if that makes sense.
For sure. I think that, like, I also just think that it's one of the great examples of, like, hey, this is a form of art that, you know, only you can do this kind of stuff in this form of art. Like, now I understand that it's based off a novel, but it's like going about it this way is like that's what make like this a visual and auditory like.
It's a marriage of the two, yeah.
It's a separator. And I think that the auditory experience is like incredible. Like I loved all the sound.
Yeah, please talk about that
stuff
because I actually did not pick up on the sound a bunch in this film. Like on my first watch. So yeah, I want to hear y'all talk about it because I've heard people like rave about the sound, but I
just thought like I just remember sitting in the theater and like, you know, some of this is going to come as a byproduct of like the POV stuff, but there just seemed to be a lot of off-screen sound and like you know, a lot of like verite work. Like I don't know, it just felt like it was very like lived in and breathed in. Like I said earlier, like I think that the sound really helps with that, and I think the sound like really helps to sell the POV shots, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I fully agree. Like I think of when our main character is sitting in like the big room where like everybody sleeps, like the dormitories, and he's like watching kids play cards and run around and like have like pillow fights and stuff, and you can hear like everything so crystal clear and like pinpointed exactly to where it is. And I feel like in general that's just not being taken care of as much, for sure.
Yeah, I also think with the first person experience, now that you're mentioning it, perspective and localization is everything in creating that experience and like replicating what it is to, you know, have that individual and soul experience of the self.
It gives you a lot of leeway. I mean, think about a normal film. Every sound is going to emanate on screen or, you know, from the center channel or behind the screen, whatever. But this is giving you, you know, a lot of ways to play with the like surrounds and stuff. I just think it's, you know, that makes it really unique in my mind.
And perspective's also a lot. It's not omniscient in the way that it is in a lot of like third person shots where, you know, if it's a wide or something, where it is on screen dictates where you're hearing it. But everything in this is relative to the narrator, or, you know.
Exactly.
Before we started this, I was watching an interview with RaMell Ross, moderated by Barry Jenkins, and he actually cited Tree of Life as one of both his favorite films and something that like greatly inspired his approach to, I guess, framing the shots. And I can't remember how he worded it exactly, but I feel like if you just watch both of those, the inspiration is just so evident.
Great double billing. I think that I listened to a different interview with him, and he was talking about how he got the producer for the Tree of Life. He got them on this project. There's a lot of similarities, and it's very easy to see. Like I don't think we're saying anything that someone hasn't said already, but it just like, I mean, you all know I like the Tree of Life like a lot.
Yeah.
And it like, I don't know, it felt very Malick-esque in like the best way possible.
Yeah.
I don't know. Do we want to go over some plot details maybe? Or just
sure. Yeah.
Because I assume people have seen the film, but maybe as we jog our own memory, we'll stumble across stuff we want to talk about.
Yeah. Name character's name. I'm
Elwood.
Yeah. Elwood.
Elwood, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, our main character Elwood is growing up in Jim Crow South. He is a bright, young, very smart man, and he has been blessed with the opportunity to go to college, as far as I understand. Or is it
I
like
think it's an HBCU.
yeah, He's been blessed with the opportunity to go to HBCU.
It's like an accelerated program.
It's like a prep school almost, I think.
Yeah, he's like a bit of a prodigy. Like he's like skipping some grades and stuff.
Yeah,
and he's hitchhiking his way down to Florida, and he gets the car that he's hitchhiking with gets pulled over, and they get wrongly framed and accused of carjacking and stealing the car. To which he gets arrested and taken to a reform school for boys.
That scene's amazing. That car scene is
it's
one
incredible.
that really stands out in my mind.
Yeah, that was phenomenal. And this interesting fact: the school is fictional in both the book and the film, but it is inspired by a real life reform school in Florida, and a lot of the things that happened in the movie happened in real life in terms of the kids that got murdered and dumped there, and I think some of those articles like that he's looking at later in the movie
it's like archival footage.
It's like actual archival footage from that real life school, which is just really
it's devastating.
I love the art, dude. I can't explain to you how much I like.
Oh, it's genius. It is so
I
well.
I just think that it adds so.
It's so well curated, and I feel like it's so easy to do it wrong. And just for it to be kind of kitschy or to feel like a gimmick, but it just drastically improves the film. Like it I
think it's just awe-inspiring. It's
yeah,
like, oh, this is a great movie.
fantastic.
What is this? I mean, this is just, it feels very like, I don't know, it just like it's very inspiring, like in the best ways. Yeah, I love that.
I felt the same about like a lot of the musical cues and like some of the subtle needle drops also. Like he's just got a very like I don't know, it's like he's got a lot of interesting footage and callbacks to older film and history and events, and everything is very intentional, and there is a lot of it, but I don't think it's just thrown together haphazardly. I think there's this is a movie that's going to take so many viewings to like fully piece together what everything means at any given point.
Sure.
And what makes that even better is the actual plot and dialogue and scene to scene drama is just like amazing. It's so good. That's the icing on top, man.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of like little subtleties that we could talk about. I mean, obviously I haven't seen it in a while, so I don't remember it extremely well.
Can we talk about? I want to talk about the dinner party scene.
I think the best thing you could say is like, hey, a lot of this is hard to put into words. Just go watch.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
I know. I personally just keep going back to the dinner party scene, and the shot of the whiskey glass. And the glass is out of frame, but it's literally just the reflection of the glass on the wood table. It's one of the most just like captivating shots of the entire film. And it's just so simple. And I think this is what I was trying to articulate right when I came out of the theater. But Ross's eye, first of all, he was the camera operator, right?
Yes, he was.
Which is just ridiculous.
Yeah. I mean,
yeah, that's my boy.
Yeah, it's insane.
But his approach to cinematography, I think, like every time I saw a shot, I was like, that it looks amazing, but this is never how I would have thought to capture it. Like that's the last thing I would have done.
Now,
but it looks
also
incredible.
just doesn't. It never feels like, oh, it's a beautiful shot. It feels very cohesive. Again, in the way that Tree of Life does.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of people don't think that that's cohesive, and they just think that it's, you know, a documentary of like Nat Geo footage, which is fair. I mean, that's, but I think that it's way more than that.
Yeah.
It's just I think this movie, like, not to sound like too hyperbolic because it's so like fresh on the conscious, but it feels like already like so one of a kind just because of his background in photography and how unique it looks. And I think I would argue that a lot of the great directors already had an interest in photography and a good eye for what makes a movie look good and work. I mean, going to sound a little corny, but Stanley Kubrick started off as a photographer for Life magazine before he became a movie director. And a lot of other great directors, Coen brothers, and I mentioned Wim Wenders before, are super interested in photography and do some themselves. But I think, I can't think of anybody off the top of my head who is so enveloped in the world of photography and like world famous photographer to then go make a movie where it just feels like his pictures are moving,
It's just it feels like that pursuit of capturing something, of visually showing us something or telling us something. But the thing is, like, this would have been easily, like, for me, one of the most impressive things is like this could have easily turned into a visual masterpiece and like awe-inspiring moments. But again, like, it's an auditory masterpiece for me as well. Like, he doesn't just do the visual thing; he does the other 50% just as well.
Yeah.
And I think narratively, it's equally as strong.
Yeah. I'd like to say it's my favorite movie. Of the year. I mean, we're gonna do the
we'll do
the rankings,
the episode. But yeah, I mean, I don't want to say it easily is, but it probably easily is.
Yeah, maybe not easily, but I think it's my favorite movie of the year for sure.
Wow. Yeah.
So. It just I don't know. It just reminds me of the high points of Zone of Interest. It feels like something that's chasing something, and I don't want to compare it to Glazer because it's not Glazer and it's different, but they feel like they are true. This feels like an auteur chasing something that's meaningful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
In that same interview with RaMell Ross, moderated by Barry Jenkins asked specifically about the inclusion of comic book characters or comic books in the film. And I think Ross's answer was something akin to Elwood being a dreamer and his fascination with MLK and just how comic books can serve as an abstraction for larger issues in the world. It can condense those into very
and
concisely laid out.
That's very interesting because that's
conflicts.
That's the original reasons that comic books were created, was for that very same reason during the First World War. So
but yeah, even the sound bites and I guess the archival footage about space, he's a dreamer and he's trying to achieve these heights, and his success in school, and you can see the trajectory that he's on before he's wrongly arrested and charged for just being in a car.
Yeah. But I guess next thing that happens in the plot is he strikes a friendship with
Turner.
He strikes a friendship with Turner.
We got you.
Strikes a friendship with Turner, and they watch a lot of abuse and just really bad things unfold, and they both confide in each other about what they're feeling, what they're like, and
the meeting with Turner is also the first time we see Elwood from first time we switch perspectives, right?
Yeah.
That was very jarring.
It breaks this whole movie is going to be from a single POV, and then it's like, whoa.
Yeah, and also we go back chronologically because we see the same scene again from Turner's perspective.
I love that part.
That was
really cool.
That's when I was like, ooh, we might be doing something here.
Yeah.
Like this is special.
Yeah, that part was really awesome.
Man, just talking about it like this, I'm like, oh, I need to go see it again.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. I mean, again, it's very zone of interest.
Yeah,
in that
I
way.
need to see Zone of Interest again too. Yeah.
Yeah. I use this word a lot, but I don't throw it around lightly. Spiritual.
Yeah. Yeah. This is a very spiritual film.
This movie is hard to quantify into words.
You feel it.
You purely feel it, words don't do it justice, no matter how hard you try to accurately explain like why it's just great in every way. Go see it, please. I know it's
that's how I feel about Malik too. I don't want to turn this into a Malik pod, but I think it makes a lot of sense in my head that Ross is like Malik is like one of my guys. Like that is like a huge inspiration for me because it's just a lot of Malik's films. It's like it's kind of hard to talk about and a little tricky, and it just feels like it just feels more meaningful, like not even putting words to it. If that makes sense.
Yo, I thought about you yesterday because I was at McKay's, and guess what they had at the new arrivals?
What?
Song of Songs. Is that what it's called?
Song to Song, yeah.
Yeah, Song to Song, yeah.
Yeah, Song to Song.
That's the one
It's
with
Ryan
Fassbender and
Gosling.
Rooney Mara, right?
Ryan Gosling too.
Oh,
yeah, Kate Blanchett.
Yeah. Kate.
Yeah, it was,
that is a ridiculous cast, man.
Oh, dude, it's everyone.
Yeah.
It was,
And it's like Ryan Gosling's in like 10 minutes of it.
That's
because of
crazy.
the editing.
it was like $7, shrink wrapped.
That's crazy.
Oh, was it a Blu-ray?
Yeah,
Dude, you should have bought that. I would have paid you.
I should have.
Well, we can check to see if it's there next time we're over.
Yeah, I can go grab it for you before we head over there.
Yeah.
So, just had to mention that though.
Yep.
Let's see. This is jumping ahead a bit, but when Elwood is breaking up the fight in the bathroom, and then he has to go to what's it called? Is it like it's the White
I don't
House?
remember, but
I think it's
know
the
what
White
you're
House.
talking
Yeah,
about.
they have to go.
They
to
call it the White House, which I mean, the subtext there is just like, I think it's brilliant. That's probably a Colson Whitehead call that they took from the book, but
That part was.
I was gonna say
was really
when he starts. I mean, well, like when you hear that's where the sound comes in. When you hear the other kid being beaten,
I felt
and
sick.
you see his leg shaking. Yeah, I felt sick to my stomach.
Yeah. This movie is by no means easy.
No. And then when Elwood's called in and you hear like the first crack, it cuts to, I believe, a picture of I don't know if it's archival from the actual what's it called? A
It
reform?
was like a reform school.
Yeah,
reform
reform
s-
school.
Yeah, I don't know if it's archival. It's an archival photo of the reform school that it's based on, but I think it cut to different kids within a picture.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it synced with the sound, and it was just like super devastating.
Very harrowing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm. Also, just the juxtaposition of what the white kids are allowed to do and like their experience at the reform school. You know, they're playing football.
Like they're allowed to play football.
Yeah.
They even drive them around on like the
Yeah.
chores they do around town and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do love the Elwood Turner stuff like outside of the school where it's just a little bit more laid back and like
Like the painting.
I don't know, it just
painting
feels like
steps.
it just feels special.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a good like pace breaker too. Just like a little moment to breathe in a way. So
And I love Anjanou Ellis Taylor is amazing, and I
my
love
goodness.
the scene where she hugs Turner.
Dude, that I
gotta
wanted
be
to
one of
cry. That was like I don't think I've ever seen like a more accurate depiction of like a mother's love than that, if that makes sense. And it just like touched me, and I was like, I know what this is in a way that I'd never felt before. I don't know.
I read a critic, and he was like, I'm usually over like all the syrupy like hugs and films and stuff, but like this one is different. It just feels different.
Yeah.
this movie did make me cry. One of the few movies that made me cry.
I'm like almost getting choked up just thinking about it. Yeah, her performance. I feel it's a tragedy that she wasn't nominated.
It's a tragedy this movie wasn't nominated for a lot of things. But
There's a lot of Oscar's tragedy. That's another pod.
That's another episode, I'm sure, coming up
Because
soon.
we haven't even talked about Marion John Baptiste, which I know you all haven't seen Mark Cruise, but
Secrets and Lies, man.
that's got to be well, we'll say that for the 2024 pod, but yeah.
I truly think she's one of the best actresses I've ever seen. And that's off of one performance alone. I have that much faith and just the product that I saw. She is incredible, and the fact that she isn't a household name in the US is just so devastating to me. I'm like, why?
I don't know. Someone needs to explain that to me. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. I mean, it's a double-edged sword, I suppose, where there are these smaller films that make you feel that film is in a good place. But then again, maybe film would be in a good place if everybody was watching these, or everybody was going to watch these, or it had the platform that studio budgets had, or I don't know.
I mean, yeah, and stuff like this, and well, we'll get to the Brutalist.
Yeah.
But however you feel about that, that's one of the movies where it's like, oh, stuff like that just doesn't come out anymore.
No, yeah.
And this is one of those. It's like, we need more of this, and I think that we're sometimes too cynical and good movies just don't exist anymore. And
no,
it's like
they do. They
there's
do.
this in the world.
Yeah.
It's still happening. And honestly, we had a lot to say about 2024 as a year. I'll say it was backloaded for sure. I think the heavy hitters came.
As is
it's
every
pretty
year.
typical. Well, you have the summer sort of swing where you got a lot of the blockbusters, but I think the end of 2024 shaped up okay for sure.
Yeah, I still don't think it's necessarily a good movie year.
I did want to say,
I have a lot of thoughts about this year. So it was a weird year.
okay,
It is a weird year.
at the box office, it grossed 1.2 million.
Nickel Boys?
Yeah.
That's actually more than I expected, honestly. I mean, considering that we saw it 2 weeks ago.
I believe it's on a production budget of 23 million, maybe.
Who distributed this? Because there's also
it was Amazon. Amazon MGM.
Oh, okay.
we also dude, some of these distributors are so bad at their job.
Talk about it.
Dude, that's we can talk about this with the Brutalist, but that campaign
A24
was genius. Okay, A24 is amazing at that stuff. It's shot in VistaVision. It's 70 millimeter. You've never seen something like this before. It's the next American masterpiece. All of those kind of superlatives on every poster, and they really hit the nail on the head with that one.
Yeah.
Man.
I would say they haven't hit the nail on the head though in terms of people seeing it easily.
That's
not
true.
super
And they
accessible.
also the release strategy for Sing Sing was absolutely brutal, man.
Oh,
it would have gotten
that was awful.
It would have gotten into the Best Picture if it had released October.
Well, I was surprised that it didn't.
Definitely.
I thought that was weird.
Yeah.
That didn't get in. Honestly.
Yeah.
Because I thought I'm Still Here was just gonna get best foreign language nominee and that call it at that. So I was surprised.
I'm gonna see that this week, so we'll see how I feel. But
yeah. But anyway, Nickel Boys.
Yeah.
If we're talking about,
I don't know. I mean, I think it's one of those it's hard to put into words. I'm not I don't really know what else to say, to be completely honest with you.
I do want to add in terms because we were talking about just some heroin stuff that happens in the movie, but the boxing match.
Oh my
where
goodness!
The head of the school has placed money on the bully to win, and he threatens him before the boxing match, and Elwood and Turner start catching on that he's placed money on him, and he doesn't hear the bell ring. I think, guys, just go see this movie. Oh my gosh,
That scene is awesome.
That scene was just.
It reminded me,
dude,
the scene where the teacher is asking him to throw the fight.
Yeah,
This is the most farcical comparison, but the Atlanta episode where it's like the white avatar, where it's do you know what I'm talking about?
I never finished Atlanta.
Have I seen that one? I don't know if I've seen that one. That sounds vaguely familiar, but I'm not totally sure if I.
Young white avatar.
I'm gonna need more than that.
Oh wait, no, I've got the flipped completely. No, that's not that. It's not.
I would bet that RaMell Ross has seen
No, that's
Atlanta.
Sorry. I completely botched that comparison because that's flipped. That's where, yeah, it's on me. In the like hip hop industry, it was commenting on how like white artists perform better, and so it was saying like a black artist would use like a white kid to like get their music out because it'd be a wider distribution. But no, that I guess I was thinking something else. But no, okay. This is it. Sorry. Get Out with the envy that sort of the white folks in power feel for, you know, in the case, what's the kid's name who's in the fight?
I do not remember.
Oh, yeah, I don't
even.
Let me.
Did we get into?
Because I feel like there's a distinct sort of dehumanization. They have this like admiration for his physical, you know, prowess and his strength, but they just don't.
They talk him down at every.
Yeah, and but they don't care about him. They don't value him as a person.
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah.
Desmond? That looks.
I think that might be right.
Possibly like it could be Desmond.
Could be.
Yeah.
But when he realizes that the bell didn't ring and like it's a close up and he's like, I didn't hear the bell ring, and he's just like mumbling that to himself while the crowd cheers.
Yeah. Also, I'd be remiss if before we finished, I didn't talk about like visual and symbolic motifs similar to like the alligator continuing to show up throughout the movie. I think that kind of stuff is just genius.
Yeah.
And that stuff like really works for me.
One of my favorite shots of the entire film, I don't know how they do this, was just him alone in the boxing ring, and it's like the blurred background, and I don't know if it's like 2 times speed where he's boxing or if it's like
now that's
half speed. But
he did similar stuff like that in Hill County.
Just
also
breathtaking.
He's just playing around with the form.
Yeah.
It feels very well. I don't want to say anyone quote unquote breaking rules feels like the French New Wave, but it does feel like it's like, hey, let's breathe some life into this.
Yeah. I like the shot when Elwood's covered with paint and he's like looking back. Looking back at Turner.
Yeah.
Like if you pause that's a classic like RaMell Ross.
Or just the horse in the building.
The cake shot. The piece of cake.
Dude, that whole the whole monologue, and when she's like wiping the cake, wiping the cake off the knife, and she doesn't eat it. She wipes it on the towel, which I thought was like so good. Oh.
Yeah, it just feels like now I'm not gonna go as far. I've read some people saying this film changes film for the rest of history. No, I don't know about all that, but I do think that it's like almost every single thing that he wanted to do was accomplished.
Okay, sorry, this just came to mind. Talking about our favorite shots in the film. After Elwood, and I'm using air quotes, in the future, is at the bar, and he meets up with one of his friends from
also one of my favorite scenes.
Nickel.
That's a great scene.
Yeah.
And he goes to dap him up. And when, like, after he's done embracing him, he's a kid. Ross shows the actor that played that character as a kid. And I don't know how to explain it any better than that, but it cuts away from him being an adult to showing him as a kid again. And you see that this is still how Elwood, or I guess Turner, sees him. We
haven't talked about the ending. So the whole movie, spoilers, which all of our episodes spoil. All of our episodes spoil everything.
Spoilers 30 minutes ago.
Yeah, spoilers before our first episode even uploaded. But you keep jumping to present day and under the assumption that it's Elwood, and then you don't. I mean, me personally, I did not realize it was Turner until the last minute of the movie when I didn't realize it was Turner until he just explicitly showed the IDs IDs changing from Turner to Elwood.
I realized it pretty late in the process. I would say as well. Yeah. It's a little jarring. I mean, that's kind of the point.
Yeah, for sure.
It's also just tragically sad.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, it's
Elwood's life and character. I mean, just dude, good lord.
I was shocked in the theater because we cut back to Elwood in the first the 80s and then sort of the present day. But when we hear the gunshot and then him fall to the ground, I'm like, wait, he's not dead, is he? There's no way he's dead. And Turner just keeps on running, and then you realize that all of the shots of him on the train, the legs, just the first person perspective of being in the train car and the time lapse.
Yeah.
That wasn't Elwood. And
that time lapse on the train.
Yeah.
That just did something to me, man.
Yeah.
I was ascending.
Yeah. I mean, it's just a visual poem, man. That's one of the best ways. It's
the third person also just works. Just hits it just hits like a hammer when you realize that, because I mean he's living a lie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think it's really interesting that chase at the end where Elwood dies and they're on the bikes and that's the first shot of the trailer. I think that's really interesting. That something that late in the movie is in the very beginning of the trailer.
I also think them being on bikes and then the people who are onto them being on cars is an interesting sort of metaphor for how quickly they could,
there's no way to escape that.
Yeah.
And there's no that is what the alligator is to me. It's there's no way to escape this repression. It's constantly coming at you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Makes me want to cry just sitting here thinking.
Just go watch this, guys. Come on. What are we doing?
Beautiful, moving work of art.
Mm-hmm.
Not much else to say. We are left amazed. So.
Almost speechless because we don't really have a ton to say.
Yeah.
Beautiful film, man. So good.
Check it out and go look at RaMell Ross's photography at this also.
I've still yet to do that. I'm excited to kind of take a deeper look, and I believe that Hale County is streaming on Criterion channel right now. For those of you lovely subscribers to Criterion, go watch that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, I think Barry Jenkins' Underground Railroad might be on there.
Probably.
Okay, because I've been meaning to watch it, but
dude, I watched the first 5 episodes of that 5 years ago.
Oh, really? Huh.
When it came out, just because of Nicholas Bertel, and I didn't really totally understand who Barry Jenkins was. I really need to rewatch that and finish it.
Yeah.
Because I saw
I know it's definitely in the collection. I don't know if it's streaming. It might be though.
Yeah, because I saw Malcolm Pickett in the Criterion closet.
Yeah.
Malcolm Washington picked it, and I was like, oh, it must be on Criterion if it's in. I mean, I don't know if it's in the closet for sure, but I mean, on the Criterion channel for sure. But
yes, because sometimes it's not a one-to-one.
Yeah.
The what they distribute and what they're able to stream. It's not a one-to-one sometimes.
I liked it when he was talking about Bergman, and they turns around and John David Washington goes, Bruce Lee.
Yeah.
They just start laughing.
Yeah.
Bro, this.
Did y'all see the Denis?
Yeah.
Kieslowski?
So good, dude.
He
talked about Blue.
Denis a funny guy.
Denis was
he goes, this is real master right here.
Denis was naming some incredible films.
Well, I mean, we expected this. Goated.
Yeah, I mean, come on now.
Yeah. But anyway, that sort of sums up Nickel Boys. Beautiful work of art.
Yeah.
Just one of the best movies. Maybe your favorite movie of the year, just like it probably is for me. And yeah. Anything else you'd like to add?
Not me.
No.
All right. We are gonna we're gonna hit stop and then start talking about Brady Corbett's The Brutalist here in a second. So I'm sure the 2 episodes will be back to back pretty soon. So if you get done listening to this, go listen to The Brutalist. And with that being said, roll that outro music.
Cool.
There you go.
Happy birthday, Mason.
Thank you.